Again, before making these types of videos, I gotta mention that I'm not a supporter of Khalid Georgescu, and I would most likely never vote for him. The reason I mention this is because if I don't, I get people on Twitter very angry, very agitated, in a state of unrest, going like, V, how can you support this guy? Don't you know that he was grifting with every single politician and he was running around leftist circles? Haven't you seen what he says? Like, he's into mysticism and shamanism and he communes with the monks. And I don't like talking with these people, okay? I generally don't. And so, in order to avoid talking with those, I just say I don't support it because I generally don't. On the other hand, I'm not against him either. Like, this is something else that people are thinking. That I would somehow be distraught if he manages to win the presidential elections. The world is ending. I would have to flee the country with my children because Romania is going to become an isolationist state. It's going to cut off contact with the outside world. The Iron Curtain is going to descend upon us. Like, no. No, like, I'm pretty sure that if he becomes president, my lifestyle is not going to change. There are checks and balances already. Presidents can be impeached if they fuck up. The role of a president in Romania is pretty much like a glorified diplomat. The prime minister position is more important. The parliament is more important. And so, like, I have, like, this approach where I just don't give a fuck about Georgescu. It's not allowed. Like, how can you say that? Well, I'm not saying that. Like, if I go to vote and it's between Georgescu and a progressive, I'll just draw a penis on the ballot. Cope and see. I don't fucking care, right? What I do care, however, and this is actually important, is the question, like, are we in a democracy or not? Do I even need to concern myself with Romanian politics, or should I start just concerning myself with the politics of the European Union and the United States? Which is a conclusion that I have reached more than 10 years ago. But still, you know, like, the idea that in a country you can cancel election, and most people in the media are talking as if, you know, you just go with a file to DMV and you're like just submitting an application. It's like, yeah, I would like to cancel the elections, please. And it's like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Like this is mental to me. You know, as a person who generally went to law school and studied about rule of law and democracy and fairness and all that. And it seems to actually hurt our relationships with the Americans as well. Like, J.D. Vance was very strict when it came to criticizing the European Union, and the one negative example that he gave, like the worst horror show that he saw in the European Union, was Romania canceling election. It's like, if you guys are incapable of having a democracy where a chucklehead who manages to win elections all of a sudden destroys your entire nation, well, maybe your country is shit then. And I agree with that. You know, like, every democracy, if it's a true democracy and you allow people to vote, every now and then, like every decade or so, it is actually expected that they will vote for someone incompetent or someone malicious. But that is the will of the people. This is what the people want. If you don't enjoy that, then don't have a democracy. Have fascism, absolute monarchy, theocracy. Like, there are other options, you know? But if you have a democracy, yes, when the people vote for something retarded, well, your country should still function as intended. You know, and it's going to be 5 years. If they voted for genuinely something bad, then hopefully they will vote for something better. If not, it's going to be 10 years, and that's why we have the check and balance, that a person can't run more than 2 times. And there are impeachments, there is a constitution, there are legal proceedings. Like, just because you voted for someone doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. But anyway, right, so that's my point. I do agree with the American criticism. I do despise things like censorship, things like cracking down on the people to make sure that the people vote correctly. Like, this is what pisses me off. Georgescu to me is irrelevant. If it wasn't him, it would be someone else. Like, at this point, it seems that people are voting out of spite. And if it wasn't Georgescu, it would have been another mental asylum. Because when you look at the opposition, right, it was Lasconi. She wasn't establishment. But if I'm not mistaken, she was talking about aliens and believed in ghosts and like other things. People are voting for the clown. Why? Because politics have become a circus. And it's like, okay, if the politicians are a circus, just send clown cars to the politicians. Clown car after clown car after clown car. The more bad shit, the more insane, the more crazy the person, the better. That's literally now like the institution of the insane candidate is a thing in my country. Like, people will just look at the list and they'll be like, who is the more insane individual that's going to upset politicians? And that's who they vote for. Why? Because they want to upset politicians. Why? Because the politicians have upset them. Simple. It's not rocket science, right? And so, we're going to today. I already said that what I think about Georgescu's arrest, which I think it wasn't even an arrest. He was just summoned for a hearing. But, like, why was the journalists over there, filming him as he's being pat down against the wall? Why did they take him from the middle of the road like he was driving his car when they stopped him? I understand that Georgescu is into mysticisms and he may commune with the spirits or some shit, but, like, did they think that he would transcend himself into the other dimension to escape the men of the law if they would have just summoned him? Because, like, that's the normal way, you can literally, no, seriously, like, the police can do this. I know it's baffling, but, like, the technology exists. You can pick up the phone and call the guy and say, yeah, you're under investigation, we need you for some hearings. And the guy has to go willingly, right? And I'm pretty sure he would. Or you can actually just go to his house, knock at his door and ask him to accompany you to the station. Like, these are things that can be done, but for some fucking reason, no, we gotta stop him in the middle of the traffic with the press there, put him against the wall, pat him down with the press there. Do you really want this guy to be elected? That's how you get him elected, by the way. Again, I said in the previous video, his entire shtick is, I'm a martyr, they're persecuting me, the establishment hates me. If the electorate hates the establishment in return, if the electorate wants to fuck with the establishment, what do you think the electorate is going to do? Right? Like, if the establishment does its best in order to say, well, actually, we are persecuting. Like we are the one that called the press, because how else did the press know that he would be stuck in traffic? I also love the narrative, right? He said he was just on his way to go to file his candidacy for president. I mean, the reality is, even if he wasn't, like, let's assume he was on his way to buy ice cream. If he was stopped in traffic by the government, of course he was absolutely going to file his candidacy right there and then. Even if he didn't have the papers on him, he would have said, well, I forgot that I'm at home, but that's where I was going. That's why you arrested me, to stop me from doing that, right? Like, if you were him, wouldn't you say the same? But anyway, all of this is what I call media circus. So when there is a media circus, the question is, what the fuck are they hiding? Like, this is how you live in Eastern Europe, when there is a huge distraction, when every single news channel is talking about something. The main question on any person's brain is, like, what are they hiding? And apparently, this just came in. It's from the Capital.ro newspaper, right? So, like, if this is fake and false information, blame Capital.ro. But I don't think it's fake. I think it's legit. So, Hidroelectrica is going to increase electricity prices starting 1st of April by around 20%, right? So it used to cost 0.80 to 0.90. Now it's going to cost 1.4 to 1.12. Now, I'm not an expert. I generally don't know why the price of electricity is going up. But what I do know is that when the price of electricity goes up, everything else goes up. You want to buy from a supermarket? Well, the supermarket has to keep the lights on. It has to keep things refrigerated. The customer pays for that. When you buy something from a supermarket, because a lot of people are like, oh, why are things so expensive? Well, because they have to pay the wage of the people that work there, and they also have to pay for the electricity. If you go to a nightclub to have a beer, you're paying for the electricity of that nightclub in the price of the beer that you consume. So on and so forth. Almost everything costs electricity. If you were a European, pro-European person, right, and you decided to go get an electric stove, and you're having an electric car, well, now you're paying the pro-European tax. It seems to be like 20%. Now, again, I don't know why it's more expensive. But I would like if the media would tell me, like, I would think that this would be a conversation worth having, wouldn't it? Isn't this more interesting? Like, why are we paying more? How did it get with this? What is the reasoning? What have the politicians done? Like, have any politicians done this to me? Right? Like, have any people in power now do this to me? Like, have they inflicted this financial pain on me? If yes, why? Maybe it's for a good reason. If it's not for a good reason, how long? How long must I keep paying more electricity? What are the politicians doing in order to make sure that this doesn't become the status quo? Are they going to build more power plants? Can we build more power plants? Can we burn some fucking coal so we can have lower electricity prices? No, why not? Who's stopping us? Who's the fucker that's stopping us? Who's the motherfucker that stops us from having low electricity prices? Just tell me. Tell me so I can antagonize him. Just like I'm antagonizing my politicians by voting incorrectly. Like, you're going to see a level of voting incorrectly if you're going to tell to the public which politician is doing this to us. Are there any NGOs? Are there any chuckleheads that want me and my son to feel cold during the winter for whatever reasons? Like, who are the NGOs? Who's paying them? This is what actually should be on TV in a democratic country. Because these are the things that genuinely fucking matter. This actually affects my life more than if Zamolxis manages to become president or not. And I need to know, like, why can't we build more power plants? Why can't we have more power? Why can't we have more electricity? What's going on? What's happening? How much taxes are for the electricity? Like, maybe we can lower the taxation of the companies that are producing the electricity so the electricity goes down. You know, if you remove all the taxes from gas, all of a sudden gas becomes very cheap. Why can't we have this conversation? Why is there no politician that comes in and says, you know what, vote for me and I'll lower the price of taxes for gas? For some reason, that's not something important. I see. Right, so like the neoliberal way of doing democracy is to crack down on populist candidates, whomever they be. I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't Georgescu and it was another popular right-wing candidate, he would also be cracked down, because historically speaking, we had that before. You know, we had it with Gigi Becali, we had it with Dan Senzaționalescu, we had it like with many others, which, by the way, I'm sure they actually did the shit. But the thing that they're doing is the selective enforcement of the law. If you're pro-establishment, if you're like the good guy, all of a sudden, well, they look the other way, right? Like all the pro-European politicians just aren't corrupt. It's just like their opposition. Like, I would like to live in a world where no politician is corrupt, but it seems that I live in a world where every single fucker is corrupt, but only the ones that are against the establishment are being investigated. And so it is what it is, you know? Like, at least that's the vibe that I'm getting. Maybe I'm wrong, you know? Maybe this is just the appearance. But that's what I'm getting from this. And so, the actual conversation that should exist is this. Educate the people. Tell them why the price for electricity is going up. Why can't we fix it by encouraging more power plants, more ways to produce electricity so that the price goes back down? And for how long is this shit going to last? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.